Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, Opie recalls his relationship with his wife, who was passionate about travel and learning. She joined an online travel club and later had an affair with a man she met there. After discovering her infidelity, he canceled her return flight, initiated a divorce, and exposed her affair online, causing the man's band to break up. Now let's get into the story. My 33 male wife, 30 female, and I have been together for 6 years. When I met her, I knew right away that I wanted to be with her forever. She was everything I ever thought I wanted in a woman and more. Actually took a little bit of convincing to get her to go out with me to begin with. She was new at the office we worked in, and she didn't want to get in trouble by dating another employee, but I could tell that she liked me by how she looked at me. We eventually had our first date, and it was incredible. It sparked the beginning of a whirlwind romance, and we got married about 1.5 years after meeting. One of my favorite things about her was her desire to always be learning. Whether it was a new skill or a language, she was always trying to expand her horizons. She was a very worldly person. She loved to travel, and she loved learning things about different cultures. I wasn't any of that, but I aspired to be, so I admired her for it. We did some traveling together when we first got married. We visited Singapore and Thailand together, which was incredible. When the pandemic happened, obviously we weren't able to travel at all. Not being able to travel and explore the world really took a toll on my wife. It truly was her greatest passion, and having her confined within a house for months was a nightmare for her. One of the things that she did to escape from that was to join this online club that would meet once or twice a month. People would just chat over a Zoom call about places they visited and their cultures. One of her favorite aspects of it was a recipe sharing section where everybody shared different foods from their respective cultures. She loved her group. She actually became pretty good friends with a lot of the members. They would chat with each other away from the group meetings and play games online or watch movies together through Discord. I was happy that she was able to find a way to survive those early days of the pandemic. When everything was clear, vaccines were coming out, and it was finally safe to travel, she jumped the first opportunity she had. Unfortunately, I was back working in the office, so my schedule wasn't permitting anything like that. She was actually laid off at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was supporting us both, so if she wanted to travel, she would have been able to. We had a long conversation about it because she felt bad going without me, but she told me how trapped she felt after everything that happened. I wasn't happy with her going without me. I felt left out, but I knew that she needed that freedom, so I agreed to let her go. She left for a week and came back happier than I'd seen her in a long time. She had gone to Germany to visit one of the friends she made in her online group. She showed me a ton of pictures of them together, the things she'd seen, and the food she had eaten. I thought it was enough to say she had her desire to travel until we could do it together. But I was wrong. It only seemed to open a window for her to want to do more. I still couldn't take off and ignore my responsibilities to go with her. I explained how her traveling alone made me feel, and she agreed that she would wait until I could take some time off before she went anywhere else. A couple of months after we had that conversation, she told me that one of her friends from the online group she was in had been begging her to come for her wedding. At first, I thought she was going to be a good friend, thought that I would have had enough time to request off of work and go with her. When she told me the dates, I was disappointed because I knew I wasn't able to go. I had a big work conference that was mandatory that I attended. I reminded her of that, and she told me she had forgotten all about it. I didn't realize this at the time, but she was lying about that then. I didn't have any reason to suspect that something was going on, so she seemed genuine when she told me that she forgot and wouldn't go if I couldn't go with her. She knew that I would tell her to just go without me. The weeks leading up to her departure were a little strange. I could tell that there was something wrong with her, but I didn't know what at the time. She was acting very nervous around me. She couldn't meet me in the eyes a lot of the time, and it always seemed like there was something on the tip of her tongue that she wanted to say. We both left on the same day for our flights. I was so busy that I didn't even think to check in on her when her flight should have landed. When I got back to my hotel room at the end of the day, I checked my messages to see if she sent me anything, but she didn't. Before I started to worry, I logged into the airline's website to check her arrival time. Because I travel for work a lot, and she liked to travel in general, we had a joint account so we could crew miles. I saw that there was a new flight logged in our history. She landed where she told me she was originally going to, but there was a departure to Paris, France, an hour after the other flight arrived. She never mentioned anything about going to Paris while she was there. I screenshotted the information, and I texted it to her to make sure that it was her that bought it. It wasn't impossible that somebody could have hacked our account and bought their own plane ticket. She didn't respond to me right away, but I got a message about 15 minutes after the Paris flight was scheduled to arrive. That pretty much confirmed to me that she was in Paris. I just didn't understand what she would be doing there. She called me from the airport and told me that she had a little extra time and she wanted to visit the city before the wedding. I was honestly a little too tired to argue with her, so I accepted it and figured we would talk about that later on. It was a little bit frustrating for me because airline tickets aren't cheap, especially not when somebody is buying business class and first class tickets everywhere they go. As I said, she lost her job at the beginning of the pandemic. I had an incredible job, and supporting both of us wasn't an issue at all. But when she was making purchases like that, it would be nice to be aware of them. I went to sleep and didn't even think about it until I woke up in the morning. When I looked at my phone, I saw that I had a text message from an unknown number. It wasn't immediately alarming because I have a lot of spam text messages that come through on a daily basis. When I opened it to see what it was, I saw a picture of my wife standing in front of a mirror naked with a man standing behind her taking a picture. No context given to the photo at all. Immediately I replied, and I asked who the person was, and they read the message. They just didn't reply. The conference I was attending was hugely important for my work, so I tried as best as I could to push what I saw to the back of my mind just to get through the day. I didn't look at my phone because I couldn't stomach the idea of my wife texting me that she loved me after what I saw. When I was finally finished with the day, I noticed that the number that texted me tried to call me twice. I got back to my hotel room and I called back. Surprisingly, a man answered the phone. I asked him who he was and why he sent me the picture that he did. He told me that he just wanted me to know that I was barking up the wrong tree by talking to my wife. I was very confused about what he was saying. I was married to the woman. If anybody was barking up the wrong tree, it was him. While we were on the phone, I noticed that he had a thick French accent. It was clear that she booked the ticket to France to be with that guy in the picture. Out of curiosity, I checked the airline website again to see if she had booked another ticket back to the city she was originally supposed to be in, but she didn't. The only ticket that was remaining was her return flight home. Without thinking much about what I was doing, I removed my payment information from the website and canceled her flight. I didn't know exactly what was going on there, but I knew she cheated on me. The details about what she told that guy weren't really any of my concern. She lied to me about why she needed to go abroad so she could sneak off with the other man. I doubted there was even a wedding she was supposed to attend. I finished up the conference and went home right away. If she was going to cheat on me, I was going to take everything from her. She could be stranded in Paris for the rest of her life, and I wouldn't care. When the time came for her to come home, she called and texted me and asked me about why I canceled her flight. She had no idea her little boyfriend told me about what was happening. I ended up answering the phone and explaining to her that I knew everything and she wasn't going to be returning to the States on my dime. She would have to figure out her own way home. She tried to explain the picture by saying that I misunderstood because that was an old photo of an ex. I knew for a fact it wasn't. She was lying to me yet again. I told her that she had one chance to tell me the truth, and that was it. She caved in and told me what was really happening. Of course, the man she met in Paris was one of the people from her online group. They had both gotten to talking, and he seduced her. He was in a band, and he was artsy, things that she would normally go for in a man before she met me. I didn't say anything about it, and I told her that when she got home, she could expect to find divorce papers waiting for her. Then I hung up. I didn't buy her plane ticket back. She actually ended up getting back to Paris. up having to call several people to try and get them to buy her a ticket because she didn't have any of her own money. I had completely cut her off after I found out she cheated. Her sister ended up buying her the ticket, then called me out over the phone about stranding her. I did some digging online to try to find out who the guy was that my wife was sleeping with. She mentioned that he had a band, but when I found him, I was surprised by how many followers he had. He was a growing artist and had recently released a song that was doing pretty well. I knew it was wrong when I did it, but I couldn't help myself. I blurred out my wife's face so she couldn't sue me for revenge. Then I posted the picture of the man online with a throwaway account, tagging him in it. It got a lot of views in the story that I posted along with it about how he slept with a married woman and ruined someone's life. Got a lot of sympathy from people. I divorced my wife and she ended up moving out with her sister while she looked for a job that could sustain her. She ended up working in person again, which I knew would disrupt her traveling desires. I thought that was funny. A couple of months after I posted the picture online, I checked on the status of the band out of curiosity. They had gotten quite a mixed reception over the image. One of the band members spoke out on their Instagram page about how after everything happens, it was decided that it would be best for the band to part ways and pursue different paths. So it felt kind of good knowing that their band might have broken up because of me. Today's second story. In this story, Opie recounts his relationship with his girlfriend, met at a fraternity party, leading to a serious commitment. Despite initial doubts, they moved in together. However, her demanding job and distance grew, leading to suspicions of infidelity. Investigating, he discovers her affair with a coworker. He gathers evidence and exposes them, resulting in her termination. Now let's get into the story. I, 25 male, and my girlfriend, 24 female, met 3 years ago at a party my fraternity was hosting. Admittedly, I was pretty wild toward the end of my college experience. I felt like I had everything figured out, and the last semester I was in school, I had a huge case of senior rightness. When I met my girlfriend originally, I thought it was just going to be a hookup. However, I quickly realized that she and I had something serious between us. We started officially dating, and we were monogamous toward each other. We both graduated and got jobs after college, and about a year after we decided to move in together. Both of us were new in our fields, and we were doing everything in our power to work our way up. My girlfriend wasn't very happy with her job. She felt like she was being overlooked a lot of the time, and some of the tasks that she was doing seemed disrespectful compared to things some of the other employees were doing. It ended up paying off for her because she was offered a promotion directly by her boss. She had a lot more responsibility, and she got quite a large pay raise alongside it. The initial job description she gave me didn't make it seem like she would be spending a lot of late nights at the office. But every so often, I would get a text message saying that she wouldn't be coming home for dinner. I'd offer to bring her food or stop by and help her out so she wasn't there too late, but she always declined. I really trusted her, so I never thought anything was happening. I believed everything she said when she told me she was working. A couple of months after she got her promotion, she told me that she would be traveling to a conference for work. It was going to be across the country in Los Angeles. There were a ton of things she had always wanted to do, and several of them were in California. We had talked about vacationing there together before, so I suggested that it could be fun for me to take the time off work and join her. She quickly shut that idea down. I was hurt by how fast she could get off work. Fast she rejected it, but she just told me that we couldn't afford the lost time. I moved on from that pretty quickly, and I was just happy for her that she was finally going to get to go. The weeks leading up to her business trip were mostly uneventful. A few days before she left, we got into a small argument about our relationship. She had been staying late at work more often, and I felt like she wasn't being attentive, so I confronted her about it. She was really defensive and tried to tell me that she'd just have to work harder than I did to get places in life. Our different upbringings have been a point of contention with us in the past, but I hated when she brought it up. I have been lucky enough to have familial connections in my industry. I grew up in an upper-class household, and I was able to afford to go to good schools. I was a legacy in my fraternity, and I had plenty of contacts thanks to my family. My girlfriend didn't have any of that, and she would often throw it in my face as if I didn't deserve it. Any of the accomplishments I'd made. After the argument, things were a little awkward, but she promised me that we would talk more about it when she got back from her trip. I told myself that I was just going to forget about it and let her enjoy her time while she was there. Before she left, she told me that she would call me every night that she was in California. I had actually been looking forward to it because I was interested to know what she was getting up to. The first night she called me and gave me a rundown of her entire day. She was somewhat jet-lagged and exhausted from the plane ride, so there wasn't much to report. Though on the second day, I was waiting by the phone at the time we set aside to call, and she never reached out. I ended up texting her to see what was going on, but she didn't reply until the morning. She told me she passed out and didn't set an alarm. I accepted that. She had given me no reason to doubt that story, so I believed it. Once again, the following night, she never called me. I felt kind of foolish just waiting by the phone for her to reach out. I ended up getting an invite to a party a friend was throwing, so I went to that instead. Aside from texting every so often, I didn't talk to her for the entire 5 days she was in California. I was excited for her to come home, but at the same time, I knew that we were going to have a difficult conversation. When she finally got back, it almost seemed like she didn't want anything to do with me. The distance between us seemed to have tripled in the short time she was gone. I tried to talk to her about it, but she just didn't want to talk. It was incredibly frustrating trying to deal with her when she was putting so little effort into communicating. So I took to the internet to try to figure out what was going on. From everything I could gather, it seemed to be a logical conclusion that something might have happened with another person outside of our relationship. I didn't want to believe that she was cheating on me, but I needed to at least rule that out. I didn't know how to ask her about it, so the first chance I had to look through her phone, I took it. We knew each other's passwords, so it wasn't hard getting in. The difficult part was trying to figure out what I was looking for. I looked through her pictures, and I didn't see anything. I didn't find anything in her recent messages that was alarming. I ended up searching through the messages for some keywords that might tip off anything serious going on. When I typed in the word "together," a lot of different messages came up. However, I was able to read from the snippets of text that there was somebody who had recently messaged her about wanting to be together. I clicked on the messages, and I read through all of them. I didn't know the man she had been texting, but from what I could gather, it was a coworker. Apparently, they had been sleeping together for some time. The man was asking her when she was going to leave me. I didn't know if she had told him that she planned to, or if he was just assuming that she would. I was going to make it a lot easier for her and break up with her. It was clear that she didn't want me to go to California with her because she planned on spending the week with him. It all made sense why she hadn't been available to talk to me during that time. I felt heartbroken initially. That was the last thing I expected her to do, and I was shocked to find out she was cheating. When I read about other people in similar situations online, I assumed that it just wouldn't happen to me, but I was wrong. From their messages, I was able to glean that she and her affair partner had been fooling around on the job. She had done me dirty, so I wanted to make things a little more difficult for her. I knew how hard she worked to get where she was in her company, so I knew how hard it would be for her to lose it all. A couple of nights passed, and I played it cool. I stopped pressuring her to talk about the distance between us, and I just accepted it. One evening, she texted me at 4:30 p.m., telling me that she was going to be staying late at work. I knew that was her basically saying she was staying late at work to sleep with this man. I replied and told her that it was okay, and then I would put a plate aside for her in the microwave for her to heat up. Of course, I took that opportunity to go find proof that she was cheating on me. No employer wanted to work with people that were having intimate in the offices, so I thought if I could get some evidence, I could show it to her boss. When I walked in, the building was pretty much empty aside from a janitor. I had to lie and tell him that I was an employee that had forgotten their keys. My girlfriend's office was practically empty, though after a minute of snooping, I was able to find her and her affair partner in what was very clearly their boss's office. If I had been worried that their relationship wasn't going to get them both fired before, I knew right away that proof of them sleeping together in his office would. I was as quiet as I had ever been while I took a video and a couple of pictures of them. I was able to get the boss's information through the company's website. I reached out to him, and after a few days, he contacted me and told me he wanted to see the evidence that I had mentioned. I brought it to his office, In the middle of a work day where my girlfriend saw me walk in and showed him. My girlfriend was surprised to see me, so she knocked on her boss's door and asked me what I was doing there while trying to pull me in for a friendly hug. Her boss just glared at her and asked her if she could take a seat before dismissing me from the office. I stood on the outside of the door for a minute while I listened to him fire her. She stormed out and stood in front of me completely shocked. I doubt she had any idea I even knew about the affair before that. I ended things with her right there in front of all of her co-workers, and I told her that I wanted her out of the apartment. She tried to play it off like it was her decision because she wanted to be with the other man anyway. If that were truly the case, why wouldn't she have just left me to begin with? It's been about 6 months since all of that happened, and I haven't heard from her. We have a lot of mutual friends from college, and they have told me that she is actively looking for a job. She's been doing online insurance sales in the meantime, which is absolutely nothing she planned to do. As far as they know, she's also single, so I guess it didn't work out with the other guy.